I've made any number of this style toolbox or donkey box or trug over the years. This particular one is for cleaning products. What's nice about the design of these is because it's got a long handle, you can lift it from any position. So if the weight is all one end, you'll end up lifting it in the middle and it's floppy. You can just get your hand where it needs to be. So this is designed to go under a kitchen sink with cleaning pieces. And the dimensions are as much to use up particular wood as anything else. Typically these are made with one plank, which you cut the end off, fold up to make the ends, and then more on the sides. This one is literally bits of wood off the floor of the workshop. So this design of toolbox is a bit of a design classic. It's something I've made again and again in any number of sizes. I think it's more an American thing than here in the UK, and I've seen them in sort of period cowboy films and that kind of thing. I can't remember where I first saw the design, but I made two of these as sight boxes, and they've got plywood sides and softwood ends. And then this is kind of a more recent, posher one, biscuit jointed together and the ends rounded over and a nice coat of varnish on them. Having such a long handle people find unusual, but it means that you can balance anywhere you like along it, so I've got all the weight in one end. Having a pair on site, I've got an instant sawhorse. The classic design is you take one plank of wood, so a plank of wood like that, and then you chop the ends off to use for the uprights, so they're all the same width. So in terms of looking for bits of scrap, I've got two planks which are already the same width. This one's a bit split in the ends, so that would make a couple of ends, and then I go looking for some sides. I rummaged around on the floor and found this stack of, I can't call it tongue and groove because it's grooved one end, but the tongue's been cut off for some reason, so I've no idea where or when this came from, and the sides are a bit rough, but that'll do. So, and I think I'll just go shallow. I'll take two of those, they'll do for the sides. So one had a sticker on, so I'll just scrape that off. There's a few little bits and bobs sticking out. The ends aren't that good, there's kind of an old staple in there. But I think I'm going to use them full length rather than bother cleaning the ends up. And that doesn't stick out too much, so as long as I make sure that the spikes go inwards, I can probably just leave those staples there. Whether I leave these is another question. It might be that they sit on the floor on that bit. Don't know, maybe it's detail on the top edge. Anyway, but those will define my length. So that's where I'll start. Having chosen my base plank, which is the one without the splits, one end is good enough to use, so one saw cut only. So I'll hold this one up against here and then mark it from there. That's not where I'm going to cut, so I want to come in by two widths. So we'll put that on once for one end, mark it, shuffle it up, put it on again for the other end, mark it. That will give me a base piece, which is the end less two pieces. Usually I turn my jumbo bandsaw on, but do use my handsaw for a change. So using the offcut, I can see how it's going to look when it's finished. I actually don't mind this groove in the top edge, so I think I'm going to leave that. So the next thing is to cut the split piece off these and try and get two ends out. So again, no ruler, no tape measure. I've just come in as far as I think I need to, mark with 1, draw a line, leave a little space for the saw, go again. See how accurately this comes out. It's not going to be fractions of a millimetre. I was also debating having it a little bit taller, then I might round the top edge above, kind of make a feature of the ends being taller. I'm just going to go square for now. This is just the quickest, easiest. Cutting the base to length, this was moving around a little bit, so I've gone for two of these. I just realised I clamped them to a piece of the bench that moves, so that's nice and solid now. Scrap it split. Looking at this split bit, I wonder if that makes my hand lens. So we're at the point now where we can see where the classic design works. Take a plank, chop the end off, fold the ends up. It might be from the same plank, but I've got just some bits of wood off the floor. Screw some sides on. A couple of uprights each end, which you then put a bit of broomstick, or in this case I found some metal that was trampoline safety cage, I think. I had a cricket stump that wasn't quite long enough. Maybe it would work. Yeah, I might still go for that. It's slim this end, I just have a smaller hole one end than the other end. But with this I've been experimenting, trying to find the right size drill to make the right size hole, and fortunately I can just drill rather than having to open it out with a file or anything. So those are the ends I've been assuming. I'm going to reject those because I want to go much taller, because the particular application is bottles of cleaning stuff. I had this bit, which is a bit of outdoor trellis wood, which would be fine, look nice with a bit of paint. But I think if I go for this, which I think is from when I was mocking up the car, it's wide enough to take this very slim handle, and I can make it really tall, so I think that will work. And I think all wood, it'll just mellow. I don't think it'll even need painting. So it's amazing what you can get done if you set your standards low enough, and you know the challenge is to how low can you go. I'll just mark this one from that one. This is really coarse sandpaper, like 60 grit or something. So I'm going to take the corner off at a right angle. See how quick that goes. The other one. See, I've got these screw holes in here. I wish I'd started the other end. I'm going to start the other end. So this end, I'm going to round it over just using sandpaper. So I'm going to take the corner off at a right angle, and then I take that angle off. I take that angle off, and it's very nearly there. So that's got a bit of a curve on it, and then I can take that edge off, take that edge off, and it's starting to look like a thing rather than just cut square. So it doesn't take long to do little details like that. Something else I use a lot, this quick and dirty type stuff, it's just a little block plane, and just a few strokes down takes that sharp edge off. It just starts to feel, it's more for the feel than the look. For a look I could keep going, and again, that's now a beveled edge, that's now a feature. So I might keep that feature for the outside and just take the sharp edge off on the inside. I won't today, but you can combine the two processes, so you can take that one to 45-degree bevel and then take that edge off, and then get to a nice rounded profile in the same way that I could have done that with sandpaper, get it to 45 degrees, take that off. So sandpaper and a block plane, you can do long edges and short edges in not a lot of time with coarse paper and soft wood. So in terms of drilling the screw holes, I'm going to kind of guess with my finger where the middle is, mark a line, turn it around the other way, mark a line, and my guess was way out, but you can see that in the middle of those is the centre, so I could then come and mark where I'm going to drill for my screws. When I've done that one, I can drill through both at the same time to get a pair. So each upright gets 3 holes, 2 screw holes down the bottom into the end. And then one at the top, which is a pilot hole for the handle. So now I can place A on B and just use that as a template. If you're not confident of holding the drill straight, and this will be a little piece offline, you can drill from the reverse side, and then it'll pop out where you marked it, and then that'll pop a mark on this one, and then drill through that one. But I'm reasonably confident I can hold it straight. So it's interesting playing the game of how low will I go, and as I've just got the tools here, it's just so simple to do. But I'm going to countersink for where the screws go through the handle. There are ways of doing it by hand and all sorts, but I've got this one and it just works so quick. So we now get to the bit that I'm most nervous of. So I practiced drilling the hole almost all the way through that, and I've got the right size, so it's a very simple task. Usually you need to make this a little bit smaller or this a little bit bigger, but I've got a reasonable match as long as it doesn't go all the way through. So I'm just going to do little kind of pulses at it. So I can see that that's in a bit, but nothing like all the way. I can see down the hole there's a little bit more, so probably one more of those. So now the handle will definitely go in far enough, I'm not going to have to worry about it popping out. But I've still got a bit of strength the other side. So it's a finesse job, but not too tricky. So these sides, I'm just going to take the corner off. Just a little bit of the block plane. That just feels so much nicer. And then it's a question of how dirty I'm happy for the wood to be and whether I'm just going to give it a little bit of sand. Just to brighten it up a bit. And I think for what it is, that's probably good enough. So this is where I'm selecting A sides and B sides and which way round. So that's the nicest top edge. That's the curve, so it's going to touch each end, hole in the middle, and then I'll mark a line across, so I know I'm going to do my screw holes down here, and then in terms of holding them together as a pair, I'll just put one line across. So the other end, I'll mark in a similar way across. But I'll put two lines so I know that they're paired together. For the screw holes. The screw holes don't have to match each end because I'm not going to swap them. Great luxury here, 2 drills. So you can drill and then just immediately get in with the countersink. But obviously you could do this one and then the other. Pop those back on the shelf over there. I don't know why it feels a bit premature screwing the ends in, but I'm going to. And then we'll see if I have any regrets later. But get this started, get this one started. Because I've done wonky cuts, that's not going to be exactly upright. But I can loosen them off later and adjust when the sides are on. And I haven't quite made my mind up yet how to attach the sides. A couple of screws each end, screws along the bottom, but then I've got this slot. I was thinking maybe I'd just glue them on, clamp them, leave them overnight. I'm in a bit of a hurry. Might be nails. Screws will do. Screws, is my default. So I've marked one, drilled a pair. You can see if you're making a big batch, I can make 16 of these in not much more time. So doing that, you just have your template master. You just keep doing another, or another pair, or another 4. And so it comes together. I'll countersink these as well. And usually when I'm making these boxes I don't know what's going to go in them, so I make them as strong as possible. So I'd have fixings all the way along the bottom as well. But these ones I won't, because it doesn't need them. It's just to stop. It's just to stop bottles of cleaning stuff falling out the side. Is all these are for. Light duty. So dear viewer, I'm having a day off from power tools, so that's not an exact 90 cut. But I'll show you how to finesse it. So undo the screws, and that now wobbles. So if I put the first side on, and where I want it to line up is this top. That's the bit everyone's going to notice. So I get the top in place and pop my screw in. I'll then go and do the other end. So that's the bit that everyone's going to notice. I can pull that in. It's a bit of spring there, but I can pull it in and hold it. So that screws in. I can do that one. And then the one over here. I can tighten these ones up again. That misses there, that overlaps there. You know, it's a wonky box, but it'll do. And that's the challenge, to keep searching for good enough. So as we're putting these screws in, I was going to split this end. And notice that is already split. But if we use just a little cocktail stick, get some glue in there. That should hold. In terms of clamping, it doesn't have to be anything more than just a piece of masking tape will hold that while it goes off. And the time it takes for a cup of tea is long enough for that to grab and then clean all the muck up when I come back. There's so much talk about, you know, measure twice, cut once and all the rest. I try and measure absolutely the minimum. But this I think I'm going to have to. So that comes out to 104 millimeters. So if I do 52 millimeters to there and put that there, then hopefully this is 52 millimeters the other side, which it is. And then if I screw it in between those two lines, it's in the middle. So I do the same the other end. I'm a little bit surprised that is also 104 millimeters. And the thing that I'm doing here is I'm measuring double the gap. So I'm not measuring the whole thing, finding a center, measure that, add a bit, add a bit. It's how much space is left over when that is in the middle. And the answer is 104. So that means it's 52 to that edge, so it's that gap. And then if I do 52 this side, it should go in the middle nicely. So the next bit I've got to try and work out is where to cut my metal tube, which isn't from there to there, because I drilled the holes not all the way through. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but the first approximation is there, and then trim a bit. Just sort of a method where I didn't have to measure. I could have marked a piece of paper to the whole piece and then folded it in half, and then that half length comes to there. So you can use a template. What I will measure though is how long the screw should be. So 30 to there, 35 to there. There's a danger of a little spike coming all the way through. And I think 30 will be fine, because it'll go into the countersink a bit. So now the question of how long the handle. So I've got a little piece of wood, I can stick it down the hole, mark it with a pencil, and then I can hold that there, and mark so I can see where the handle will come to maximum, so a little bit in from there. So it's going to be the gap between plus 10mm each end. So I'll screw these in and then mark up to cut. Use a little square to mark that right angle. When I was saying, maybe I put the ends on prematurely, it might have been easier to install the handle on the ends whilst it was still a component not in the whole box. But I don't think it's so much harder doing it like this. Preload the screws, that'll make it easier. I get through a lot of masking tape in the garage, not just for masking. So wedge that in there to there, scribe the length, and then I know I want an extra 10mm that end, an extra 10mm this end, so I can measure 20 off there to get to where I want to cut. Awkward. Very thin wall stuff, so it's a bit nasty. So a moment of trim. Handlouts. So I don't need to worry about sharp edges on there because it's going down a hole. Leaving the screws to get a little bit and kind of guide them into the holes. And that seems to have worked. So there is a stupidly tall toolbox, donkey box, cleaning pot